Oh, hey there, Mr. Michael Mackie.
What are you doing, meteorologist Scott Havens?
Wait, if I'm a meteorologist, are you a psychologist?
No, I'm also a meteorologist because it has that alliteration, meteorologist Michael Mackie. I feel like it has a flow to it. So,
But you are a psychologist, though.
Psychologist Michael Mackie doesn't have a ring to it. It isn't. It needs.
It's not. It's not on brand for you, even though, yeah. So I now know that when we're doing the show sponsored by Bestway International, I now know that when you sit, I was like, oh, is he just a pro? Is he lounging? No, it's the lighting.
No, there's like literally one place in my house that has the most flattering lighting, and this is it, and this is why I'm sitting here. So,
Well, that's what you do. You are a star in professional branding for Lily and James Creative, and so you understand what it needs to make people look good.
Hey, it's all about putting your best face forward, figuratively and literally. So there you go.
Yeah, if you want to hang out with Michael Mackie and I and have coffee, we talk about sugar, we talk about hair injections. So, whatever you need,
not necessarily in that order. Sometimes it's hair injections and then sugar, but it's either one or the other. So
I don't know. Both of our hair is looking pretty good.
I know. We're practically Breck girls. Look at us. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, please tell us where you're watching from. Whatever you type into the comments, I'm pretty sure Michael Mackie's going to read.
Watching on a meteorologist's scope, because of course you are meteorologist Paul Fogel.
Paul better be playing meteorologist because there's some golf coming up. He's got to make sure to clear the weather out. I'm really excited for our panelists today. We got a lot of action. We're going to be talking a lot about the job market in general. So a lot of good networking gets done in the comments section. So again, if you're watching, we can see you. So you might as well comment and then have Michael read it.
We can see you. Yes, chime in. Don't be shy.
700 plus guests, both mayors, lots of entrepreneurs. And here we are today. But before we get started, Michael, what is really, really, tickling your fancy right now?
Tickling my fancy. Let's see. Like 3 months ago, I had never even heard of this one particular singer. His name is Daniel Donato. He's kind of a, I don't know, rocker meets honky tonk. Anyway, I've become obsessed with his music. And I got to do an interview with him, and it just came out yesterday. And he invited me to bop backstage and see him after his concert. So I'll be going.
That's crazy, and that's in
Daniel Donato concert this Friday at the Madrid.
Well, the boring Johnson County guy feels a little bad because I think I may be going to a chain. I don't know. May get takeout. We don't know.
Oh, if you're going to Red Lobster, I'd hurry because did you see like 80 of them closed today?
Oh my God. I was going to go to Hereford House because I know they're really cleanly right now.
Yes. Hereford House is the place to go because it is immaculate.
That's right.
Yeah, two Red Lobsters in Kansas City closed yesterday.
Well, they weren't using Bestway International to help them get to where they needed to go. But where we're going is introducing our guest. And before that, we got to trigger the music, which Erin Folk isn't here, and she does not like. But Erin is taking so much time to rest to let the teacher is letting the children run the asylum right now.
That's on her.
It's not. Yeah. So when we get this music flowing, we're going to get these guests announced. Number one, kicking us off, Mr. Michael Foley. And coming in hot, number two, Matt Denney.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Support local, your roastery blend right here. Local roastery blend. So.
That's great.
I am Sam's drink. I do not have a drink, but I'm with you in spirit. So there you go.
There we go.
No pun intended, Michael. Why don't you kick us off with the first question to Michael? Upstairs to downstairs.
Yes, Mike, downstairs. Right off the bat, who are you? What do you do? And how did you end up in Kansas City?
Yeah, so Mike Foley, founder of Strategy and Performance Advisors. So, I've been born and raised in Kansas City. So I'm a lifer. Spent a couple of years out in California. But yeah, it's just spent a lot of time traveling the nation in my different functions. So Spent a lot of time in healthcare and in the SaaS world. So all parts of the ecosystem. And then, but yeah, so what do we do at Strategy Performance Advisors? So the key is, and I love talking about it, we really come along mid and small market businesses who are, let's say the sales are flat or they may be struggling, and we come along and provide sales enablement and performance management services. So what I like to tell people is come alongside and equip sales teams to run faster, do more, sell more, partner with marketing, making sure that the marketing messages are where they need to be, and making sure that those two pieces are really interconnected. And then at the end of the day, what we want to do is just reduce all the friction, right? So I think a lot of times we make things really hard and we don't need to. So if we can come alongside businesses, reduce that friction out, and equip their sales teams to go out and do more and achieve more, we've done our job.
Do you have a favorite part of your job?
All of it. Now I will say, I think the thing that I love the most is coming alongside the sales organization. And so I'm a big believer in the challenger model, the challenger sales model. If you've read the book, I'm a big believer in that, but coming alongside folks that want to get better. I think that's the key to everything is you find folks that want to get better. You invest some time, you sit down with them, coach them through the model and the journey that they want to be on for their sales. To me, it's the best part of the job is because you look back on that and you can see what you have achieved by investing in others. So yeah, for sure. That's my best.
Putting you on the spot. If you weren't doing what you were doing now, what would you be doing?
Oh man. Okay. my wife would think this is pretty funny because, so I live out south. I live on about 8 acres. I got a 2-acre pond over here. I just love the outdoors. Right. So my wife would tell you that I would probably be raising animals if I wasn't doing this. And doing something, she would say I would probably operate a petting zoo, right? I would bring people in, let them pay a fee. We're going to go pet the cows and whatever. So, but I love, at the end of the day, I love being with people, love investing in people. So that's really my calling.
Do you have animals out on your acreage?
So right now I have 2 swans, 5 cygnets, which are baby swans. So 5 of them just hatched, 17 ducks, 2 dogs.
What's a baby swan again?
A cygnet.
I really thought I was going to make it through One Drinks with Leaders without hearing cygnet in a sentence, but I guess today is not that day. So
you should have got a beverage.
Yes, I should have got a beverage. All right, up next, Matt. Hello, friend.
Hey, how are we doing?
I need to know all the things. Tell me all the things. Who are you? What do you do? And how did you end up in Kansas City?
Of course. Well, my name is Matt Denney. And by the way, congratulations on your podcast, Drinks with Leaders, #1 in the Kansas City market. That's awesome. So I'm super flattered.
Bestway International.
Happy to be here. Yeah, really, really happy to be here. So like Mike, born and raised in Kansas City, I absolutely love Kansas City. I love the role that Kansas City is on. It's incredible with our back-to-back Super Bowl wins, and Kansas City is on fire, and I love it because I was born and raised here. I live in Parkville. I own a small boutique recruiting firm called StarRecruit. So I've been a part of 4 startups. Probably the most fun startup I was involved with was Bats Global Markets over in Lenexa back in 2007. I'm also a mentor in the Hellsberg Entrepreneurial Mentors Program, which I absolutely love. It's a great organization. If you're not familiar with the group, you should definitely check it out. It's kind of a who's who of entrepreneurs and mentors here in Kansas City, and does a lot of great things for the Kansas City entrepreneur marketplace, founded by Barnett Hellsberg. So what I do now as a recruiter is I find my clients game-changing candidates. So a lot of people can go on Monster or Dice.com or Career Builder and find the resumes of unemployed, disgruntled people, and I'm desperate, get me out of here. I hate my boss. I hate my job. For my clients, I go out and try and find people that are pretty happy, pretty successful, pays good, job's pretty good, but could be better. So if you think about like the Kansas City Chiefs, if you think about like the team and all the players on there, the thing that's probably the best about the Chiefs is the players and the coaching, right? So you got to have great players to win Super Bowls and win games. So I go out and help my clients find game-changing players. Yeah, that's basically what I do, and I love it. I've done it now for 19 years here in Kansas City.
So
As
there's
oh, go ahead.
good. There's a quote: the toes you step on today are the butt you kiss tomorrow. How have you seen your world in terms of like relationships over the years? Because there's a lot of
Yeah.
friction when you're hiring.
It's a great question. Yeah, there's always a shortage of star players. There's always a shortage of really talented people, regardless of what's happening with the economy and what's happening with the world. So, what I would say about that is relationships are everything. You've got to really understand that in order to be successful in this business, you got to treat everyone with respect. And a lot of recruiters get a bad rap for not returning phone calls and not being as focused as they should be. My model is really simple. I just try to treat people the way I'd like to be treated. I mean, it's very simple. Yeah.
And by the way,
question.
Yeah, Matt helps a lot of people in transition, and that is a service for his business. If you go to his website, you can find more about it. But Mr. Mike Foley, what is the most pivotal point in your career as we start that 3-minute shot clock?
That's a good question. I think it's a couple of things. I think that, I think the first one is, and this is not a blanket statement, but I think from my experience that the markets are starved for really good leaders that come alongside and cultivate and nurture their sales organizations. I've been with a lot of different companies throughout my career, and I have an experience with a lot of different companies and the different functions. And I think that just because you are wildly successful in a role, what I've come to learn over my years is that it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great leader in the next. And it takes a lot of time and cultivation of those skills to really become an exceptional leader, right? So it is one of the, and I would say it's a pivotal, is because what it's done for me is it's reaffirmed to me is like, I always have to be fine tuning my leadership skills. I have to be making the investment. I have to find mentors. I have to be mentoring, right? It's like in sales, you can't expect your salespeople to go sell if you've not gone and actually sold yourself, right? So I think all sales leaders should be actually actively selling. And so I think that's one of them. I think the other piece too is, and especially on the sales enablement piece, because I'm really passionate about that. And my experience, working with, many large and small companies, is it's amazing the gap in sales excellence within organizations. The 80-20 rule is real. I mean, you, like you said, organizations, man, you have a few eagles and then you have a lot of, average folks. And what I'm really passionate about, because what we were talking about before is, coming alongside those folks is like, how do I take folks who are average but want to be excellent and give them the skills necessary? And what you generally find, and I think it's really important, is it's not wild moves that takes a person from good to great. It's incremental change over time and a commitment to those incremental changes that really allows people to go from good to great, right? So, I think there's a couple things there that really resonate with me when I look back on my career.
Was there any company in particular you worked for that had the best culture that you missed the most?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, there was a company years ago that I worked for, and it was in, like I said, I've been in the healthcare ecosystem for a long time, and it was a startup. And the company did not get FDA approval, and we were together for about a year. But it was the healthiest culture because it was a high feedback culture, right? But in a positive way where everybody was striving to get better, right? And it was so the excitement of launch, but it was a positive culture. So yeah, definitely in that realm.
Matt, what was the most pivotal point in your career?
Well, the things that Mike said there, I think were super interesting about, Pareto's principle and, 20% of your salespeople make 80% of the sales. I think that's really fascinating. So I had to comment on that. But probably the most pivotal point in my career was back in 2004 when I started my first company, medical and sales recruiting. I was always fascinated by recruiting. My neighbor owned a recruiting agency. I thought it was really cool. I always kind of thought, well, maybe that's something I could do. I checked into buying a management recruiters international franchise. We flew up to Cincinnati and did all the due diligence, and I was going to buy a franchise. And they sent me a FedEx pack that was literally about this thick with hundreds of documents I had to sign and basically sign my life away. And part of my due diligence was calling a franchisee and saying, hey, what would you do different this time that you didn't do originally? And he said, I would do it myself. You should do it yourself. So I did.
Wow.
My wife and I, we had no idea what we were doing. You know, fake it till you make it. Man, that was us times 1,000. And we started the whole thing from start to finish ourselves. And it was a ton of fun. I wound up selling that company to another entrepreneur when a friend at church one night came to me and said, hey, do you recruit for the financial services space? And I said, I do now. How can I help? And that was Bats Trading, which sold to CBOE back in 2016 for $3.
Oh, that went good.
That one turned out pretty good. And but that was a ton of fun. So had I decided not to do my own thing, I don't know where I'd be today, but I'm glad I made that choice.
That's wonderful that someone, did you know the person that gave you that advice, or you just reached out and you said, hey, what would you do differently?
You know, that's a great question. I think he was in Cleveland, and I tried to find him later to go back and thank him for that great advice. And I never did track him down, but yeah, that's maybe the best advice I ever had. I'd ever received. It was pretty amazing.
Now,
Scary though.
Real quick, I'm going back to when you were talking about being a mentor. Do you enjoy it when you see your little mentees, when you see that little light bulb go on over their heads?
You know, I do, but interestingly enough, I learned as much from my first mentee as I think he learned from me. It's really cool how much you learn from each other and how much information sharing there really is. His name's John Koloff. He and his wife are both RPHs. They're both pharmacists. They graduated from KU. They're super entrepreneurial. And there were many times when I was sitting there with John and I'm like, who's teaching who? But yeah, it is cool when the light bulb goes on. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to pivot a tiny little bit. Mike, I want to ask you let's talk about the rest of 2024. Let's talk about Q3, Q4, and even into 2025. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And more importantly, how can the Kansas City community help you achieve your goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question. I think that when you look at the markets and where it's going and where we come from, when I look out for the rest of the year, my goal is really to bring on three or four more long-term clients. Just to backpedal just a little bit, like when you look at the space, there's a lot of small and mid-sized businesses that will bring just for short-term engagements, right? They're going to bring you on for a very specific engagement. And what I generally find is you need to be there for the long term, to really invest in companies, to watch them grow, to contribute to the culture, to provide the sales excellence, and to provide the ongoing training required for these smaller companies to go. And so it's been interesting talking to folks because many companies can't afford to have a seasoned CRO come in the door. So they will settle for, someone with no experience to come in and try to run these sales organizations or promote from within. And many times they'd be better off hiring a fractional CRO, which is some of the work that we're doing to come alongside, because you're basically hiring for that skill set. So when I look at the rest of 2024, I think we have capacity to probably bring on 3 or 4 additionals. I think as we head into 2025 is building out the practice and bringing in more advisors to be able to do the same service, and maybe branch out to some ancillary markets as well for some very specific skills. I mean, what we generally find is sales enablement piece transcends markets right? I mean, so the selling principles transcends. It's not just in healthcare, or manufacturing, or, I'm working with a construction company right now, trying to help them with their sales. And I mean, these things translate, but you really, I want to get to a place to where all of our folks are being very specific in their verticals, go really deep into these different verticals. And so when I look into 2025, bring on more folks to get very specialized. And so if I look for the rest of 2024, it's like, hey, if there's folks out there that they need some just assistance in the long term on the CRO piece, we'd love to be able to come alongside and help.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to change tracks, Michael. You go first.
No, just real fast. I was going to ask how the Kansas City community can help you at large.
Yeah, the network is everything. And I think that we would all agree with that. So if folks know of other folks that are in this space and they need to help, I would appreciate the introduction, right? The introduction's everything. I tell people all the time, I will grab coffee with anyone and just talk about things. I don't know if we can help everyone, but I am happy to have a conversation for sure.
Seen a lot of people be successful with fractional sales that partner with recruiting firms because they need a lot of salespeople. It's a great way to be in the pick and shovel business. So hopefully, this opportunity is serendipitous. Michael, I'll toss it back to you.
Hey, Matt, you're up next in the hit parade. So what is 2024? How is it shaping up for you and into 2025? And more importantly, what can Kansas City do to help a brother out?
Yeah, so my goal for the rest of this year is to help as many Kansas City businesses as I can grow. And back to my Kansas City Chiefs analogy, and hopefully we get the three-peat this year. It all comes down to the players on the team. So I want to help as many Kansas City businesses find great players for their team, because you got to have great players to win. So any companies out there that are looking for, really high caliber, high value new employees to add to their roster, I'd love to help them. And it's like Mike said, the introduction's everything. So if someone watching this has an opening on their team right now that they need somebody that's maybe a little higher caliber than you can find on, Monster or Dice.com, I'm here to help. I'd love to help. If you know of other businesses that are looking to hire and they need, a really good headhunter, here I am. So yeah, I just want to help as many businesses as I can this year into next year. That's really what I want to do.
That's great.
What have you seen for new graduates in terms of the marketplace, in terms of their starting salaries? I mean, you and Mike both have kids coming out of school, so just curious, your take on salaries for people getting out of school.
Yeah, it's a really great question. So I would say my son just graduated with a master's in accountancy, and man, they are just so many jobs right now for that particular market segment. And you're looking at probably between 60 and 70,000 for someone that is an entry level kind of master's level caliber. If you're looking at, computer science, probably 55 to 75. Really just depends on kind of the market segment, but the economy is still very healthy and robust for new college graduates right now. Absolutely.
I'm going to steal Michael's question. If you weren't doing what you were doing right now, what would you be doing?
I have no idea. I'm going to be completely honest. And I have that conversation with my wife all the time. I don't know, which tells me I'm not anywhere near ready for retirement because I don't play golf. I don't know. I really don't.
It means you're exactly where you should be. And so another stealing from Michael again, how can the Kansas City business world help you? What are things that you're looking for to grow?
For me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So referrals, it's all about networking. It's all about connections. So anyone out there that is aware of a company that's expanding or adding headcount, they could, let me know. My company, StarRecruit, www.starrecruitllc.com. You can Google me. You can Google StarRecruit. You can find me really quickly. Yeah.
Well, good. Another way to do it is also hiring Michael Mackie of Lily and James Creative for personal branding. And then, Michael, every time I host the show with you or I hang out with you, I'm always reminded that you've done this 10,000 times and you've done it for a variety of different shows because I'm just trying not to laugh in the middle of the show with all your one-liners. So I don't know where they come from. but we're going to have you close everyone out. And we can't thank Bestway International enough for allowing us the opportunity to do this show, going on over 4 years and 700 guests. But Michael, you do this for a living, so I'm going to turn it to the pro to close the show.
I've got a complete sidebar here. This has nothing to do because I'm such a foodie. Boys, I want to know if it is your birthday and somebody is taking you out. I need to know where, and they're buying, and cost is no expense. Where are you going, and what are you eating? Mike, you're up first. Like, where's your favorite restaurant? And where do I need to go?
If I'm just going to go out, it's going to be Capitol Grill. I'm going to get filet mignon, lobster mac and cheese. Like, I just like going to the Capitol Grill on the plaza is awesome. And then going to go, obviously go get dessert someplace. But the lobster mac and cheese at Capitol Grill is top notch.
You had me at lobster, also mac and cheese, also steak. Yeah. So it's the trifecta. So awesome.
Yes, it is.
Hey, Matt, it's your birthday and somebody's taking you out. Where are you going? And
yeah, that's really easy. It's Q39 and I'm getting a slab of ribs. 100%.
You guys like the flesh of a dead animal. You guys are all about that.
Yep.
Michael, what are you going to get?
I'm probably going to go to Jasper's. I'm going to go Italian, and I'm going to eat my weight in carbs, specifically their shrimp libornaise, which I consider to be literally the best dish in Kansas City, full stop. So,
well, you know the owner. That's not cool.
I do know the owner. So, yeah. Well, what's your Scott? Where are you going?
Back to Michael, back to the flesh. Hayward's Barbecue.
Oh,
so it's a nostalgic place that I grew up in as a kiddo, and it still exists. It's just in Lenexa.
Yep,
it's a good one.
Oh, Paul Fogel, great show, guys. Actually, the last time I went out for barbecue, I went out with Paul Fogel, so I do like me some barbecue.
He's a man among town.
He is. He's a man about town. Well, gentlemen, we thank you so much for joining us today. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to pop out into the universe before we let you go? Mike?
No, I just love the show. It was great being with you guys today. So thank you for having us on.
Yeah. Congrats again on this podcast. It's really cool. #1 business show on LinkedIn in Kansas City. That's awesome. Thank you. It was fun. Had a ball.
All right, Michael, I will go ahead and sign us off here. Thank you to Bestway International. Thank you, Michael Mackie. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mike. And until next week, we'll see you at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays.